Good morning, everybody. Hello. Sorry.
There's the oh my gosh. Oh my.
Cut the music up. All right. We ready. So huge gap overnight. I always like to see how Sunday kind of opens. All right, we're gonna have this giant new week opening gap this week. We often say we don't like to call tops. So we'll favor longs as far as like the best setups, but if we do close below this new week opening gap here, let's go to the 15. So if we do close below this new week opening gap, I wouldn't mind actually a pass lower, like into this first presented here, potentially. So far this morning, we respect that. Displace below it, hold the displacement. Yeah, I'd almost favor shorts actually today. We'll see. No news today. We have FOMC and NFP this week, so I think first few days might be a little choppy, and then end of the week kind of wipes out that liquidity, but we'll see what it gives us. We'll look for, off the opening, if we're going to go short, we'll look for a run higher. I'd try to at least retest like the highest fair value gap here. That was created in line with 830. Bouncing off previous day's high right now, so maybe bounce off previous day's high, trade up into the inefficiency. We can look to get short from there. If we're able to like displace and get outside of the new week opening gaps high again, then we can resume bullishness. But for the time being, I do favor to try to capture a short. Oh, this is on NQ. I was like, what's... Okay. Whole time that was NQ, I was tripping. So ES has already actually delivered into that. We fully closed in the gap. Which to me, that might be actually a little more bullish, now that we look at that. Yeah, I do kind of favor longs, actually. So I was reading NQ instead of ES. ES is perfectly filled in the new week opening gap, revisited previous day's high. So I'm trying to see if we're going to end up actually displacing back above previous day's high. I like the idea of trying to retest midpoint. And then obviously if we want to actually be bullish, we do have equal highs here. I'm looking at this bearish fair value gap that was created as we close underneath previous day's high for the first time. That should try to hold if we're going to be bearish. Holds us on this lower, we pick up a short-term low, trading up into it now at 930. So we'll see if that can break or not. We have a daily fair value gap. I'm just kind of marking out if we're going to go lower, higher time frame. What could we reach for? So we do have this fair value gap. Notice that the old high, that daily swing point, is pretty much consequent encroachment of the fair value gap as well. Whoa. So that's an opportunity. 1 hour. That's pretty clean right there, actually, too. So as we leave that old consolidation, break through the high, notice that fair value gap is perfectly aligned with the buy side. That'd be a nice area to try to target if we're going to stay bearish. Small opening range gap. As we say, that will often lead to choppier mornings. So got to be aware of that. For the time being, creating higher lows, lower highs. We'll throw up NQ here as well, just so we could see. So far, choppy opening. We said we want to see if NQ can get into this fair value gap, so we've gotten there so far. We'll see if that ends up holding. Good morning, good morning. I was going to ask, I can't remember who told me, but when we were streaming from my laptop the other day, someone brought up a different news site. Shoot, what is it called now? Right, I always use FX Book. But if someone remembers what it was called, it also had like, it tracked what Trump had to do as well. There it is, yes, thank you. Not Financial Juice, that's what it was. I was trying to remember, I was like, what was it? I like that. I'm gonna start adding that instead. Financial. Sweet. Well, we double NQ. What's ES at? Here we go. Okay. So EQ or NQ a little bit stronger. It did get into that inefficiency we wanted to see. Well, ES is really being held below previous day's high. That's interesting. So this might be a better shorting opportunity here in NQ actually. Let's see what kind of price action we get here. Like I say that we leave this first presented open, invert that. That might be a nice short here in NQ. With ES being kind of weak. Displacement through that, then we could, as we say, resume bullishness. And then ES will probably give us a better opportunity. So I want to see if ES displaces above previous day's low. That's what I'm looking for here. There's not any higher time frame inefficiencies until we get to basically the 5-minute here. Let's watch here in NQ. So as we said, we clear out that high, we clear a short-term high, we hit perfectly midpoint of the 5 minute. We're revisiting first presented, we hold it the first time, so if we do fall through that, that would probably be more favorable for shorts, like into the previous day's low again, or previous day's high. Let's see. We do close below that. All right, let's watch if that holds. What's the 2 minute done? That may be the entry right away right there. Previous day's low. Oh. Might have been too slow. Let's put in the limit. Okay, let's see if we clear. That's midpoint. We have yet to get outside and below the new week opening gap here in ES. We got a quick bearish move off of that first presented. That's what we were liking to see. We'll see if it can actually run into previous day's high. That would be my expectation. That's what we were going to try to target. We were just too slow with the actual entry itself. It tapped it right away. Didn't get my limit. Unfortunate. Okay. Missed trade example there. We'll see if, let's see if we close below opening range. We can get a visit into that inefficiency we mentioned. That's the 1 hour. No first presented yet. Okay. So yeah, that would have been a nice setup there. It's all right. Always more. From here, I'd actually want to see if we're going to try to bounce from here. So we'll see if we create SMT. Actually, I wouldn't mind that. If we hold previous day's high in NQ, we're holding the opening range gap. I'd actually like to see if NQ can, or ES can't get back above. Like, let's leave that fair value gap there. That'd be perfect, actually. So let's leave. If we can leave this fair value gap, we'll look for that as an inversion play. Closure below opening range, then right, we could look for that continued fall potentially into the higher time frame inefficiency here. Swing low as well. Oh, okay, so there's going to be no inefficiency. That's unfortunate. We'll see if we just purge and revert then. Like, if we can get back above midpoint, we might just use that. No inefficiency. We close perfectly on the midpoint. So yeah, we'll see. If we get back above midpoint, we should continue bullish. Because, right, this wick, this original wick that we create, as we trade through that, that should hold price. So if we're going to try to get above that, I like to look for a run higher now. New week opening gap low. Be a good inversion play. Are you saying in ES like here, right? If you're saying ES, yeah, I like that. Right, that's kind of why I have this wick, but you also notice the fair value gap gets created as we leave that. That's perfectly the new week opening gap low. So double confluence. To where we can look for this, a return into new week opening gap. True confirmation would be to actually leave the opening range gap as well. So that's kind of what we'll wait and see. But so far, right, midpoint is holding. We would expect that. We'll see if that holds and send us lower. I don't know why that keeps changing when I click on it. I just said still no real fair value gap. 2 minute, I guess we had a 2 minute here. How big is that? One handle, so we could see that. There's retest of midpoint. We'll see if that rejects, gets us lower. NQ, I'm gonna need you to quit doing that. Retesting first presented in NQ as well. This is where we'll also see price try to hold. So if we are gonna run bullish, should get above. If not, we'll probably hold this and make another pass for lows. Oh my, I'll be right back, folks. Apologies. Gotta use the restroom so bad. Okay, where we at? Where we at? All right. Leaving at 10. Oh, shoot. Damn, all right, brother. Take care, take care. First presented, we're back just in time. I like that. If we're going to go higher, This should be the setup here. We got closure above the fair value gap as well, so we would really expect that to hold too. We'll see what midpoint wants to offer us here. Cut NQ long, nice. Good setup. In this long, yeah, I like midpoint. So as we revisit opening range midpoint, we should try to hold that. I'd watch for this low here. We're going to want this to hold. Pretty much we'd want to see that be the last line of defense, but closure underneath first presented not good, so I think we'll probably try to run this low out one more time. Unless we can kind of create right the swing low here and make a quick pass back above first presented. That's what we would need to see. NQ is still the stronger one, so NQ is holding a little bit better its structure. Right, this low is not really getting messed with compared to ES. Liquidity void here, perfectly aligned with midpoint. So if we are going to respect and break lower, we would look for that to happen from here. We have a bearish fair value gap at this point, so we'll see if we do want to run out this low. As we said, very sloppy opening so far. We'll see if we can keep this low intact. The fact that we couldn't close above the opening range twice, even though we created the first presented, that's kind of why I was expecting a deeper retracement here. Is that we get outside the opening range, the very next candle holds that original premium and actually closes back in the range. So I would have wanted to see two candles respect that. So even though we did create the inefficiency, right, it wasn't as clean as we wanted to see because we weren't able to maintain staying above the opening range gap. So yeah, if we are going to hold this, we then need to see pretty much displacement again. You at 943 low. Fair enough. I would always favor this low, the low that's outside of the actual range. Especially when it's that close, right? One handle. So this will be pretty important here. We'll see. If we're going to reject, we'll probably hit the low of this. We'll hold this actual bearish fair value gap. We'll reject. If we can get above and close above the fair value gap, we may have a chance. So we have now. So now we need to respect that pretty much. If we get any lower than that, we're going to get, right? We're going to expect price to try to run out the lows and reach for this low. As we say, NQ is the stronger one. Oh my, did not mean to do that. We're going to close that because that was not supposed to be open there. I don't even know how that happened. What the hell? I feel like I didn't even hit the button up there. But we're going to say NQ is the stronger one, right? So we need NQ to pretty much respect this midpoint now. If we're going to displace above this liquidity void here, we would expect that to hold price and make a pass higher. Right now we're creating pretty much stair-stepper delivery in NQ. So we would try to run this high, but from that we may get another rejection. I would not be surprised to see that at all. So we'll see. We want ES to try to get back above its first presented pretty much. That's here. Closure above, so we'll see if that can hold and continue to push. See if ES can't hold its low, try to run. I'd like to see if we can't run into this 5 minute up here. Right, as we said, that's the only inefficiency on a 5 minute sense. So if we do want to get a little release, that makes sense. Pretty large discrepancy here between the two. That's why I'd like to see ES try to make a pass. If we can get back above the first presented, that'll be a good sign. We want to see it close above the opening range too. Not just above the first presented, but actually, oh, just like that, right? So we close at the high. We want to get outside. This could be an easy rejection here, especially with the bearish volume imbalance. If that's a no wick candle to the upside, that's going to be gross. We were long as well, right? We're still in. We had to stop at this low. Midpoint of the opening range. So I like this 5 minute. If we can get out, we'll partial one at 5, which is pretty much this high, right? This inefficiency here. If it gives it to us, if not, we'll come back and get stopped out. As we said, that's not a good sign, not being able to get above. We open with the bearish volume imbalance, we trade into the high of the inversion, and we hold that perfectly. Closure below would be worse. We'd want to at least respect it. We don't. From that point, I'd look for a run on the low. Should have at least respected the low of the first presented. Not doing that, to me, means that we're going to respect this volume imbalance, run out these lows here, and then we'll have to try another opportunity. Well, especially as we said here in NQ, we would expect as we run this high, the rejection, because we're in this range like this. So that's a turtle soup, and it's also the open. High, the new wick opening gap. Just makes sense. That would pretty much need to be it right there. Running out these equal lows and holding. If we can do that, we might get one last chance to get a quick explosive move higher while leaving this low intact. But yeah, we would need to see the very next candle make a run for it, and we couldn't close below this. We need to at least respect the opening range gap low. We do, bearish volume imbalance. Yeah, that needs to pretty much be it right there. We're going to have a bearish volume imbalance here though. So we're going to have to pretty much negate that. If we want this to be the swing low, this is where we have to see speed, right? We need to pretty much negate premiums without even hesitating. So as we trade into this the first time, we'll see what we get. But not looking, ooh, holding that, yeah, not looking too hot. When we're here like this, not much to do, right? If it wants that low, it'll take the low. If it wants to respect it, it'll hold the actual opening range. We'd like to see this close in. We were able to, okay. Not as nice as we wanted to, but we'll see if we can't run higher. As we said, at this point, we want this to be the swing low. So we don't want to see these lows be messed with again. Very interested to see if we can even get up into that first, but as we trade into this volume imbalance, what kind of reaction we'll get. If we can't even get into that, then obviously very bearish, right? Because we're getting stuck at the lower quadrant. That's what I'm looking at. So we're getting stuck at the lower quadrant, and we're able to get above that. That's not the reaction we want to see here if we're going to try to look for a run higher. Ooh, yep, okay. So of course we'll wait for the close, but if we close back below this, we would expect low here to be tacked. And even if we close above the volume imbalance, that doesn't produce much confidence because we still have the reclaim bearish and the first presented. So closure above would be nice, give us an area to have some potential support, but really we need to displace back above the first presented. If we do that, I'm just trying to debate if I want to go break even that quick. If we do that, if we get above first presented, we'll just slam our stop right to the low of the opening range. So cut and risk a little bit. All right, so we need to get above. Let's get above that. This will be a bullish breaker if we can close above. But as we said, we need to get actually above this so we can get inside this new week opening gap. You see, that's what we're getting stuck at right there. Gross. It's also paired with this fair value gap. So we need to see continued bullishness from this point. Can't hold the low of the new week opening gap. That's what we're getting stuck at right here. I'm going to put this fair value gap up because that's pretty much the low of it, but just gives us something easier to see. So if we hold that, right, break lower, it's just gross. Did we clear that high? No. So since 9:30, we've left all highs, which I'd like to see at least a quick run on some highs. NQ's cleared all the highs, so large discrepancy, as we said. Wouldn't really want to see the low of this first presented give way now. So we can get stuck in here, that's fine. But ideally the bodies hold the low. NQ still stronger. Clears a high again. This will be pretty sketchy. Let's see if we can close above. Closure above new week opening gap. Oh, I was gonna say, because we're probably gonna reject from there. Right, just look at how we've been delivering. Anytime we run a high, it's a rejection. If that's the case, ES is going to be weak because it's already weaker. It'll run for the low. So running out the high without being able to run out the high, I don't like that at all. We need to pretty much hold here. Like, I would need to see that be a swing low, to be honest. Especially if that candlestick closes like this. If it closes here, I would want that to be the swing low. Next candle, try to close above the first presented, engaging and creating the breaker. And I don't want to see continued bullish run, but right with NQ being like this and ES unable to run highs, never a good sign. As you said, we're going to take 5-handle partial here at this high if we get it. Once again, as we say, not good seeing that unable to get above. We need to see midpoint respect or hold bodies at this point. So we were able to get inside of, yeah, we can't get above the range though. As you say, we need to get above the opening range gap. That's what we're getting stuck at. So we need to hold midpoint pretty much of this inversion, close above the opening range. If we can do that, we should have an opportunity. Instead, we hold that open bearish volume imbalance. We don't want that to be a swing high there. If that's a swing high, that'll be a bad look. So yeah, we need to at least test this high. If not, look for the lows. Right, yep. And Q gave you that buy side twice. So far, working out. We'll see if we get paid off. Here, I'm just going to put this on since we didn't take this actual. I entered on my phone because, of course, as soon as I went bathroom, that's when it entered entry. But let me move the screen so you could see that. So we're here. Let's stop below the low. As we said, close. If this stays open, so at this point, if we can keep this open and close above, we'll go ahead and move our stop to this low. We're gonna try to partial out at 5 handles, and then I like just the 5-minute open inefficiency as the final exit. So we won't even need to reach for really the highs, especially with that huge discrepancy. Ooh, that's not good at all actually, because NQ just got the actual high there, which we're gonna see a huge rejection just like that. You know. So, I mean, we'll see if this holds. At this point, we're not really in sync. So I'm looking at NQ, but I'm not letting it play too much an emphasis into what we expect in ES. Because, right, as NQ goes up, we don't go up, but as NQ falls, we're not really falling either. So we're just going to commit to the ES setup we got here. We'll look for at least 5. If we run out this little short-term high, that's not a partial, but that is a short-term high. What is that? That's only, yeah, it's not only worth. I want at least 5. Cut risk a little bit. We left that open. We run out the high, we'll cut more risk. As we often say, once we clear buy side, that's when we'll see retracements. So that's kind of why I want to be a little quick with moving the stop, because we could run this high. That becomes a swing low as we expected. After running this high, we could see the retracement back into this fair value gap, back into the first presented again. So we have to be wary of that. As we said, this entry came on midpoint, right on midpoint of the opening range, which is the low of the first presented. Ideally, we blast through this and partial at the same time in one candle, because that, yikes, we don't want to, if we close below that, that's going to be very unfortunate. We want to see this candle close above this buy side, get us into our partial. Once we partial, we'll go and break even, because at that point, Monday, no news, partial secured, no need to risk anything else. Yes, I mean, let's go. I love that. Love to hear that. No need to chase. It'll give you the opportunity. Oh, beautiful. Okay. We do not want to re-enter on that, so we go like this, and now we go like this. Actually, that second entry, because I added 2, I forgot the second one was way lower, so we could actually hold that because that's already in profit. That's clean right there. So yeah, we'll pretty much catching the low there. Just debating if I want to try to get greedy here. Like, are we gonna 6 sister? Is there a chance that we do that? Those highs are pretty clean. What's up there? Nah. These are the one thing, the entry, the exits of my kryptonite. Never satisfied. Let's go with 8. Let's go with 830. I think 830. So if we can have our, we'll do this. If we can get to where we were gonna exit originally, which is the 5, we'll actually just put our stop 5 handles, which would be about here. Okay, we'll play it that way. Because we closed above this buy side with displacement, closing above previous day's high. We'll probably leave an inefficiency there. That's gonna be a pretty nice long opportunity. We're not gonna add anything, we're just gonna continue to follow. So at this point, stop's already in profit. We've secured more profits. We run into this 5-minute here. We'll jam our stop up pretty much right under this fair value gap. And we'll look for the 830 to be redelivered into. Yep, I like that. Okay. So we're set up. How do you decide to enter off midpoint versus low? Wait, how do you... Okay, so you took low, so you entered low of the new week opening gap. That's fair. So for me, it really came because we had a small opening range gap. So when we have a small opening range gap, I'm already expecting choppier delivery, which means that you're going to get deeper retracements than would normally be expected. So if this pops back up, right, so as I see that small opening range, we trade into the low of the range, and then we displace back above it. As we mentioned, the fact that this candle, though, could not actually close above the opening range as well, that to me indicated that we'll probably get a deeper retracement. So that's why I'm using the actual midpoint. Understanding that the first presented should still hold in theory, but I'm really going to rely more on the opening range and midpoint for the original entry. Because having a small opening range indicates that we're going to get deeper retracements. And then really, right, this candle not being able to close outside the opening range twice is what really made me expect the deeper retracement. Where you entered is fine. I just think, right, your stop loss was too tight. You always want to have, like, if there's a swing low just outside of the actual PD, right, you're always going to want to have your stop be there, especially in choppier markets, right? So that's why I had my stop where it was. Usually, sure, if we're like trending or something like that, it's okay to try to be a little bit more precise. But when we're not trending, you have to know when the last line of defense is, the true invalidation point, and that's the swing low. And that's why we see, right, we got real close. I mean, less than a handle away, but we trust that. We said if it wants to take the low, it's going to. If it wants to remain bullish, it's just going to hold the low of the opening range. Do I think ES can go for London highs? London highs are yoinks. I mean, yeah. Yeah. If we're bullish, like if we get above the new week opening gaps in midpoint, yeah. So like, especially if we displace above this, because now we're going to be putting in a sell to buy model, where the premiums that held us originally and sent us lower, we get above those turn into discounts. For me, I'm just going for 830. I don't need to be too greedy, because that would be nice all the way up here. That'd be a huge trade. Should we just leave that run all day? But no, I like 830 personally. Closure below previous day here will be bad news. NQ is really just a turtle soup simulator this morning. You sell every high and look for a retracement into equilibrium. I mean, that's actually textbook. Yeah, you could just turtle soup every single one of these highs. And then when I'm turtle souping, I'm always taking some off at midpoint of that range. Just in case you guys ever are interested in trying that. Or it's like if I'm turtle souping this high, I'm looking from the low up to that run, find equilibrium, and then you target that. Same idea. If you're turtle souping this high, you take the run that clears it, the low up to the high, midpoint, target that. And you do that each time. And then eventually you could try to hold for the low, but the main target will be equilibrium. So we'll see. We want to hold that pretty much. If we don't hold this, we'll expect first presented to be retested and then potentially being stopped out from here. But at this point, we're sitting good. Like I said, we've already collected partials, paid ourselves for the day. Everything else is just free at this point. If this holds as a low and then we trade into the 5, that'll actually give us a new low to use as our stop loss. So that'll be good. Closure below, not good. Closure below midpoint, also not good. So like that already, I don't like to see that. Ideally, we create a no wick candle here to the downside and just run bullish. Close back above the fair value gap and make a run. Not respect this old buy side pool. If we end up respecting the buy side pool, creating a wick here and closing below, right, that's when we would expect retracement into first presented, and then from there potentially a stop out. So let's see. This needs to pretty much remain no wick, close back above the buy side. Ideally close back above this fair value gap here, because that's a 2-minute fair value gap. So the actual 1 minute is here. Right, this will be a 2-minute wick. 1 minute needs to reclaim that. 2 volume imbalances though, so now we're going to run into premiums. We can hesitate there, but I'd really want us to get above this buy side, at least. It'd be nice if we can close above that and close above the inefficiency, the volume imbalance. Can't close above it. We close on the high. That's right. That turned into the no wick candle that we spoke of. So from here, I don't want to see that wick, or I don't want to see this low be violated. We should run, invalidate these premiums, retest this fair value gap, and then ideally try to run for these highs here. At that point, as we said, we'll go ahead and jam stop to this new low, which will be about 4 handles from entry. So that'll be good, right? Because at that point, another ends model guaranteed, even if we get stopped. Profit. You're looking to re-enter 64.30. That's valid. If you got entered there, that's valid. That's a good spot for entry. Now, as you say, or as we're looking, right, we'd want to see pretty much, as we say, the premiums be disrespected. That's what we like to see. So we'd want to close above both, ideally. If we can do both at the same time, that's even better. Best case scenario, we actually close above midpoint. We have yet to do that. So let's see. Nope, we don't get that. Yikes. Okay. That's unfortunate. We just need to keep pushing. We need to get above these volume imbalances here. We need to use this inversion as support, invalidate this one, close above that, close above this fair value gap, then use all of those as support. Right, those become discounts. Look for the expansion through. As we retest the high, we can expect hesitation, but we want to blast through that, close above. Closing above it now should create confirmation to at least get into the 5 minute that we're speaking of here. From that point, I'd like 8:30. I'm going to go with the volume imbalance just in case. Cool. So there's the high. As we say, we want to close above that. We don't want to see that be a wick. So like if we wick that, remain in the range, that's not a good sign. We want to see it close above to create true break in structure and allow for continued bullishness. Instead, we get oh, okay, we did close above actually. But notice what we did. So this candle can negate this. So I don't, that's nice, but this candle's more important now. This will be the confirmation candle. If we can close above this, that'll be good. That's where's our original exit point. So because of that, especially if we close above, at this point, we're already gonna go like this. We do not want to give back anything unnecessarily. That's when we were gonna get out here anyways. We'll see if we can't at least refill the full 5 minute, and then we'll call it a day. That'll be nice because that should allow ES to, or NQ to pump, turtle soup to low, pump higher, let ES keep going up there. Let's say you did enter their band, right? I'd probably go, I mean, that's a good place to exit too. Up to you though for your exits. I'd always just like the old ends model on a Monday with no news. Very safe, reasonable. And we leave that fair value gap. That's even better. So yeah, I'm fine leaving stop now because really we should hold this. Old premiums that hold us and send us lower originally into sell side, and then right as we retest it, it sends us into a discount. As we get above that, those should become the key flip points, right? So the key premiums turn discounts that should support the current price leg if the objective is up here. If the objective was the 5 minute as kind of we thought, well then of course we'll start falling, but especially because we just created equal highs, I would expect that this holds us in the short term and gives us one more stab, potentially into its midpoint, I would say. From there, we'll see what happens. We run these equal highs, stop will be right below this low. Was my coffee? There it is. Here are my entries. Sniper. Absolute snipe that low right there. Okay, I don't like that. Is it greedy reaching for this extra 2 handles? It is. That's okay, it's Monday. Let's be greedy on Monday. Especially when we're already secured, and yeah, we could be greedy. You can be greedy when you've already paid yourself, right, and you're already in profit. Like at that point, it's just free game. Now, had we not taken any partials or anything, I would let my stop breathe a little bit, but with where we are, I'm fine. So stop below the low. What's that on a 5-minute? Institutional order flow entry. We could probably retest this 5-minute. That's the only issue. Now that we're hitting this, as we said, right? When we clear short-term swing points and return into higher time frame inefficiencies, that's when we'll see deep retracements. So that's the only issue here. Like if we give this up, I'd expect it to come all the way back down more than likely for this low. We would need to hold this here, this inefficiency. Let's just get out the midpoint. No need to reach for one extra handle. Because as I said, from here, I would expect one last bullish leg to hit the midpoint, and then that may be like the full leg. So if that's the case, we'll try to get out on that. This may be the high though. We need to hold this inefficiency and make another bullish expansion. Bearish volume imbalance, we want that to close in. Ideally, we do not want to leave that open. So we'd want to see, this can be a wick, that's fine, but we don't want to see this, right, remain open and for this candlestick to get traded below and close below. That's a bad sign. Because at that point, then we'll look for this low. We have these volume imbalances in here, so I'm watching those. Cool, so this should be a good trade. Can't lie, I'll be a little salty if we get stopped simply because we could have had the swing high exit. That's my one, as I said, that's my one kryptonite. I'm always wanting the swing lows and swing highs. So if we can hold this, as we say, ideally we close this in, but I don't think we're going to. We don't, so, oh, and we close below midpoint. That's not good. This would pretty much need to be this. We'd want to see a no wick to the downside. We'd want to see quick expansion that actually gets above this. So if we end up trading into this and we can't get any higher and we reject, that's going to be a bad sign. So right now we're watching that intently. It's stuck at the high. It's stuck at the high. It rejects. We don't like that. It's stuck at the high. Get through the high. Nope. Rejection again. Stuck at the high. Stuck at the high. Third time's a charm. No. That's so funny. That's why I'm like, when people like, you can't look at this stuff and be like, oh, it's just random. Like, come on now. Because what else is that? I'm looking at the volume imbalance, but I'm drawing that out because it's the inversion. It's this here. So the volume imbalance will have more weight, but it's also an inversion fair value gap, which is what I'm saying. If we could, that's not good at all, actually. So we'll look for a run lower. Respecting the premium like that, respecting the inversion. Closure below this fair value gap to me will mean it's going to run lower. So at this point, with us wicking this low and taking out this no candle or this no wick candle, now we pretty much would need to get going. If not, we're just going to keep falling. Yeah, okay. So last line of defense will be the original 2-minute where we entered. Really, like, if we wanted to be in this for longer, you could put the stop all the way back here at break even. Because we could see a retracement into first presented, and that'll still hold. For me, I'm fine being out as we get ran here. So that's the stop. Fine with us. As we said, we could probably retest this and still hold. So I'll be interested to see what we get from here. But yeah, that would have been the exit right there at the high. That's okay. That's all for us. Probably no more entries today. We'll follow it until probably 11 and then call it. So yeah, first entry comes as we trade into midpoint, and then as we actually traded lower, I added one there. I'm expecting this to be the protected low. So as we trade into the low of this opening range, I'm pretty much buying right there with a very, very tight stop. Right, that's why I did that. Because that allows me to have less than a one handle stop. So as we trade into that, we catch a swing low. It gave one little more run lower, but oh, what do we say? That's hilarious. That is actually hilarious. Okay. But there's still a way to get back in here. So let's say that you are trying to get back in, okay? What we'll look for is We should create some type of inefficiency here. If we invert that inefficiency, that should then hold to create another bullish leg. First presented at this point should be done. As we say, when we deliver into short-term highs, you get retracements into the original entry first. If we leave that and then invert, that should be done. So if we can get above this, we'll try to go like this here. Another 5-handle move. But yeah, I'm salty. Like, that would have been so clean to go from that low right there, right to the high. It's all right, Link B. It's all right. It's all right. It's all right. Precision plays. Got stopped again. 0 for 2. Aye. It's all right, Benji. It's all right. I'm guessing you went, let's see, 64. Did you get 5? Ooh, you wouldn't have got 5 handles. That's unfortunate. Yep, live and learn. Learn an opportunity. That's all. Don't feel, I mean, I've been burnt so many times. That's the only reason I did, or I could do what I'm doing right now. It's because I did what you did 1,000 times. Too tight of stop. Get taken out for price just to run in our direction. Okay, so that's fine, I guess, if we just keep going lower. So like this could be a buy right here. Like a higher risk buy is what I would call that, but we're not going to do it. But say your expectation is we actually do want to run for these highs. We trade into the low of the first presented. We close back above it. That should be balanced fully. So now you can go in like this. Right? If you're confident that we're going to run into the 5 again, we'll watch that. Very true. Yep. These are the days where, right, you mess up a few times, or you have the bias right, but you don't get to capitalize, then that creates that, like Mike's saying, a little bit of revenge trading sometimes. At least I know it did for me. That was probably like the biggest thing I had to overcome. Executions. Not execution, actually, stop loss. I'd say stop loss. It's funny because I have like recordings, like what I used to do, right? I would trade in the morning. This was when I was still learning. And then I would go like DoorDash and stuff in the afternoon. And I have all these voice memos of me. Like I would talk to myself almost. Like at the end of the day while I'm driving, I would talk to myself. What did I do wrong, right? How could I be better? What mistakes am I making over and over? And listening back, it'd be the same mistake all the time. Have a good entry. I would move my stop too tight. I'd get taken out. Price would run exactly where I expected. I'm like, geez, bruh. So you said that right there will be, this should be like a propulsion block. We'll follow that now. This would have been the original entry, as we said. Stack an entry there as you go break even. So you got one trade break even, which means next trade's risk free. And then you see if it runs as well. All psychological. Very true. That's all it is. At the end of the day, most people, that's really all there is here is psychology. Like I sure I might be a little bit different and I have a deeper understanding of like the price delivery algorithm. But for most people, they all know the same thing. It's just a matter of how they apply it, how well they manage their own emotions. So 10:30, morning room's about to be put in place. I just said that would have been second entry as we trade into the LB there. If that is the case, you want to see this now get inverted. If we can invert that, then that becomes support as well. If not, we'll probably try to get first presented. Just stay range bound. Stair stepper. So this is kind of where, right, those retail trend lines do work. But that's simply because we do not want to attack lows. So like this is where we would expect high or lows to continue to form. If we close above this fair value gap, this low should be protected now as well, right? So the new high or low would form here ideally. Then we hit the 5 minute and then we could see the break. But that's what my expectation would be if we're going to make an attempt for the 5 minute once again. So we reject that there. Yeah, especially if we get above now, because now we've rejected twice. I kind of want to buy this if we do retest that. Opening range gap high, first presented, below midpoint. That's perfect midpoint of the opening range, which should be done. Mm. We'll paper it. I really want to end there, but I'm like, already had a good day. No need to give it back. So let's change this up and we'll go back to the old paper. Let's try this out. Pretty much as we said, right? This, if the idea is we actually do want to run into this 5 minute once again, this will be a protected low. We're slightly consolidating here, but we're going to run out this short-term low. So like as we run out this short-term low, return into this inefficiency, that'll be the liquidity grab and return into a discount. And then from there, we should see the expansion higher. Like I'm almost seeing this as right a fake breakout. So whatever this is, the triangle, as it breaks lower, people are going to try to pile into shorts there as it's breaking that line. I would expect, however, then for it to hold and then revert, causing like max damage. And we could actually use, what's the opening range at? We'll just use the opening range high. It's like one tick above it. Round number as well. What we'd almost expect would be to hold this volume imbalance, bearish, run into the entry. You then invert the volume imbalance where you can actually stack a position, right? That'll become now a discount. And then you look for the inversion here and eventually the 5 minute. Or we're just completely wrong and it just falls, runs out the lows, runs out for these relative equal lows. But I like the old bait and switch here. Bait the shorts, switch it up, run out the longs one more time, and then you could fall from there. What's a 5 minute look like? Oh, that's a new 5 minute candlestick, actually. That's right, though. So already closure inside the fair value gap, not good. We would have expected to see a wick like this. Closure inside to me means that it probably will attempt for midpoint and now the low. So that's kind of how we can read the candlesticks themselves, right? The candles will tell you what the next kind of plan of action is. So the only way to negate that now is for this to become a swing low. We need to see this be a swing low, get outside of the actual fair value gap. Not create a bearish fair value gap here either. So ideally we kind of completely cover in this range. There's a small inefficiency here. We don't want to see that be completely filled in. If we can't do that, at least close above the fair value gap. So that's fine. At this point now, we do need to get above this inefficiency here. So we need to invert that. We didn't get the swing low entry. It gave us one more run lower, but we'll see if that still ends up holding up. At this point now, we need to, as we say, invalidate all the premiums. So first this one, get above that. Then the volume imbalance, get above that. Then this, which has been holding us, get above that. Purely paper here, no actual entry. That's good. Buying one more right there. Creating the inversion, early indication that the bullishness could resume. So as we retest the actual first presented, that becomes another area to stack a position. It's almost confirming that we should support that. Now we want to see this premium get invalidated, invalidate that, even better. Then we just hold. 5 handle exit would be here. So at this point, it's just going to be a full pool. 5 handles is the 5-minute fair value gap. And then we just look at premiums as like confirmation. So no more adding entries. We just look at this for, as we say, confirming the original bias. We want to get above this volume imbalance first. We don't want to do that at all. We want to actually close above it. If anything, we're going to have to respect this now and not see candle bodies close below that. It's a higher time frame looking like. Let's go to like an hour. Immediate rebalance. Yeah, that's good. We should still run. We should get one more bullish leg to run out this or into the 5-minute. Lo and behold, perfect delivery into the inversion. We get above this, as we say, that becomes new area of support. So now bodies should respect this. We need to get above this bearish fair value gap that's been holding us. Once we do that, that should be a new area of support. If we can get above that, at that point, stop will go. Really, stop should be here. Stop could be here because we've cleared that low. We held the range. We'll be safe though. We'll hold it. So that's fine. It's all about the candle closure. We'll see how it closes. It could wick, return all the way up and still hold this. Kind of like these last few, right? Look at the wicks on these. Huge wick lower, huge wick lower. We'll look for that to happen again. Perfect delivery. Hold. Close above. Confirm. Expand. Cut risk. Nice. So now we want to see this low. This should be the protected low. And I don't want to see it run higher. Perfect. Closure above midpoint. Perfect. Perfect. I want that midpoint. We'd want this to be a classic volume imbalance entry here. So we'd want to see pretty much this or midpoint of the inversion be all that this candle tries to do. And then return and kind of run bullish and ideally close above the fair value gap. So as we said, retesting midpoint is fine because we close above. Midpoint should be an area of support, but now we want to see it confirm that it wants to leave, close above, leave the volume imbalance, which now will be another area that should support price if we come into it. Perfect. So far, it's doing pretty much exactly what we would expect. So I'm fine going like this. We should hold that now with the bodies. We can wick into the fair value gap, but bodies should not breach this volume imbalance. And we should see a quick expansion. We're going to run into this volume imbalance now. We could expect hesitation, so we could see some hesitation, but eventually we should trade through that. Right, we're seeing the hesitation now, but what we would expect is hesitation here, retracement into the discount holds us, and then actually creates the leg that trades through the premium. Right, that's kind of what we would look for if we're wanting to see the bullishness. So far that's fine. As we said, as long as we hold the bodies, the wicks can really do what they want. Price is like just stuck there, just freezing right on that volume imbalance. See if we can't get a partial. This down close candle would be like the last line of defense for me personally. We have our stop down here, but anything below like midpoint of this candle, I would expect stop to be reached. So just keep that in mind, right? This would need to be the swing low. Like if we close above midpoint or close above this volume imbalance at all, that would need to be the swing low in my mind. Ooh, we open. Nope, we're not able to get above. Look at that. Right on, that's crazy. So we had no wick to the upside here. The fact that we weren't able to close above means that we could probably retest this low, which I think we will. Right there it is, into the down close candle. But at this point, we do need to get back above here. This would need to be a wick that holds this inefficiency. So we could wick into this, but the body would need to remain inside this fair value gap. Remember, this is a very small range that we're within. We're not even able to get 5 handles, so. Stop loss is very tight, under a handle. Was very zoomed in, so it looks kind of normal, but in reality, this is a very small range that we're within here. That's not good. Did we get below? Where'd that go? The fair value gap disappeared. We held that low. Yeah, we really need to hold this. Closure below that, as we said, we'll look for the potential stop out here. Volume imbalance held to a T. Nine handles since open is crazy. And we almost caught that entire range. If we would have exited right there where we should have, we literally would have caught the low to the very high. I'm ass. Damn, yeah, we literally would have had the entire... See, bro. These are the days you used to get chopped up. Improvement. See? Let's go. Hey, that's all right, but yep, we take that. BE. Yeah, Mike, once you understand that, it makes it so much easier. Right, you still got to find the entries and stuff, but the general framework of what to expect, like I said, it just makes it so much easier. So like this, right, in these type of profiles, I'm never trying to enter in the middle of the range. That's why I kind of like here, Benji, right? That's valid to enter, but when we're consolidating, I avoid middle of the range entries like that, and I always look for the extremes of the range. Right, so that's why like these entries, and then same thing here, with the extreme of that range. Whereas like once we get in here, like I'm not really trying to long like inversion volume imbalances or anything like that. He starts with an S. Who could that be? He said I might be good. Nah, you'll get there, brother. Like I said, the stop loss, I made that mistake too many times to count. It simply got to a point to where, right, the pain of making that mistake over and over again was worse than the pain of just sitting in the trade and not doing anything. So eventually I said, all right, I'm gonna feel like shit either way. Would I rather feel like shit doing something right? Yes. And then over time I realized, hey, that actually does work. I should just do that. But yeah, give your stop room to breathe, right? That's one thing over the years that I've kind of refrained on. Before I used to be, like you see Michael in his videos with the 1-2 handle stop every time. And sure, that looks cool, but when you're starting, right, you want to have some room. I would always advise to have it below a swing low or above a swing high, regardless of where you're entering. That's just the easiest way to go about it. Yep, kind of as Mike said. Well, that's probably an underlying factor, fear of losing, especially once the trade is going in your direction. All right, stop us out maybe here. Now we're getting boring. Oh shit, Benji, that's tough. Don't size up. Try that for a week. Stop loss, stop loss, stop loss. Do something, do something. Here it is. No. Oh, here it is now. Closure inside, next candle gets it. Yes, let's go. Hideous, hideous. We will call it there. So we'll bring back up actual trades for today. So what we had today were the longs, right? We said that we wanted to see if we don't want to continue to run for highs. We had a small opening range gap. Pop up maybe, nope. Okay. Well, either way, we had an opening range gap in here. We were continuing to stair step lower, left a lot of highs behind. So as we create the short-term low, we displace back inside of the actual new week opening gap. Let's go to a 1 minute, excuse me. That was on the 2 minute. So as we clear a short-term low, we create, right, a bearish fair value gap aligned perfectly with the new week opening gap low. So as we displace above that, we're creating today's first presented. We have our opening range gap and we have the inversion. That's the signal to get long. We trust that this low here will now be the protected low. It's underneath the opening range. And our target becomes the 5-minute fair value gap. So entry comes on midpoint of the opening range gap as we retrace into it. Second entry comes as we're trading into the low of it, understanding that this low will still hold price. So at this point, we get a nice sniper entry right there on the swing low. We revisit that one more time, still holding the actual opening range gap low though. And then we get that release. So first partial, 5 handles that was aligned with pretty much short-term high. And then we should have just closed it at the actual 5-minute, but we were aiming for the midpoint. So we fall just short of that, instead holding at the actual low perfectly before we get stopped here in profit. So overall, right, great day. We get full profit here, and then we get stopped in profit on the last position. And now we just continue to really consolidate within that. He said that, yeah, morning price action has been pretty ass, to be honest. Like, we've been working within the consolidation profile for the last, who even knows, few weeks. For the morning anyway. So yeah, a lot of morning, I mean, just look, right? Friday, morning consolidation. Thursday, morning consolidation. Every single day. Wednesday, morning consolidation. But it's all the same, right? It's really doing the same thing every time. It's going lower first, it's consolidating, and it's giving short-term bullish runs. So that's what we're capitalizing on. So even though it is ugly, it's very repeatable. So we kind of expect that. Right, it runs lower. We hold that consolidation. Short-term runs into buy side. Very next day, same exact lower. Consolidation, right back up into buy side. Wednesday, Thursday, a little bit different. Not even really though. Right, off the open, lower. Off the open, lower. Runs into buy side again. So it's just finding which discount we expect to hold. And then today, lower off the open, consolidation, short-term runs into buy side. Yeah, I mean, usually the summer months are going to be choppy anyways. There's a lot less volume. And that's why we're seeing, especially like in the afternoons, if you just look at the afternoon price action, like you could just tell, right, it's lacking much volume. It's still moving, but the candlesticks, you could just tell. Like not much volume in those candles. And that's really been, right, the whole time. So even though it is giving miniature movements, the actual volume is just lacking. And that's because it is the summer. People a little bit more risk off. As we head into the fall and things, right? People go back to school, people go back to work, people stop vacationing. Should get a little cleaner once again. Yes, sir, Benji, that is going to happen. Fundeds are a whole different ballgame. The first few times, anyways. I always said, the first time I got my funded accounts, right, it felt like I forgot how to trade. I was like, what am I doing? I was just lost. And it's simply because it was the emotions that got reset to almost before. Or it's like you get accustomed to, right, the evaluations. You get accustomed to that, and then once you get the funded, it's a whole different feeling again. As Mike said, you'll be fine. Just need time. All right, we'll wait till 11, and then we'll wrap it up. Mango, get down. Hey. Get. You're going to fall. Hey. What's NQ been doing? Yikes, NQ is probably even worse. It's not a bad setup there. If we invert this. Yeah, past my window, but that right there is looking kind of juicy. Clear the short-term lows, hold the volume balance. Clear the equal lows in there, displacement above the inversion. If we would have got above first presented, that would have been even better, but we'll see what that does there. Using like midpoint of the first presented. See if that rejects right there. And then finally get the release into 1110. Dun, dun, dun. And it is 11. All right. So we'll leave it there. I'd watch for this little run. I like this. But we're done being involved. Got our bread for the day. Full gap closure. So I'm still really wanting to see. What's that? Let's see. Hourly. Do we close on an hourly below it all? The hourly actually did close below that. What about the 4? And the 4. So if we get another higher time frame candle that closes below that new week opening gap, I still would favor trying to retest this 1 hour in here. So yeah, going forward, I would look for that actually. It may be something to where like if we run into this 5 minute, I honestly would expect that to reject and then create another leg lower if we don't just do it from here. But if that's all, oh, another question. No, it does not. Price can close on a high and completely reject that and fall lower. Especially in choppy conditions, just like we saw here. Right, so for me, it'll always have to close above. Closure above its midpoint will then lead us to look at midpoint as an area that could hold price. But I'm never going to trust a fair value gap as an inversion unless it closes above it. Because, I mean, we've seen so many times, right? Price is very precise. It could close right on that high, just as this did. Close right on that high, hold the high, and then reject and trade back lower. So, yeah, does not count. And that's actually a great example. I mean, right? Here's another perfect example. Closure on the high, very next candle, nope. But then once we do close above, then it releases. But so you don't want to be too early. But now if that was all, then we can leave y'all with that. No more questions. We'll wait a minute just to be sure. Tomorrow we have news at... No news. Oh, wait, we do have news. Okay. 8 o'clock. So 10 Eastern. Nice. So yeah, we'll be back tomorrow at about 9:45 Eastern. So we have high impact news at 8:30, and then at 10 o'clock, we'll come back just before that high impact news at 10 o'clock and see if we can't take advantage of something else again tomorrow. So until then, stay safe today, everybody. Have a great rest of your afternoon, and we will talk tomorrow morning. Take care.